So I feel like if we imagine this kind candor and there's kind of like a ditch on both sides of the road, this is where like on one side, I talked about how, a lot of people are like, they're just so afraid of being mean. They're kind. They just are so
Mhm.
kind, but also avoiding conflict, taking that easy hard, or just you're so patient that like eventually they'll figure it out. Then the other side of that road is kind of this. I hate that we haven't figured out a different word besides masculine because it's just so tethered to genitals and like,
I mean, yeah, it's just think of it as energy, not
yeah, hyper
anatomy.
masculine energy that is like, you got to tell it like it is. You got to be straightforward. Like, like that, just like,
Almost like the football coach, like calling
yeah,
people a girl or a wuss, thinking like that's going to motivate. I always hated coaches who did that. I never responded to it.
they never did that to girls anyway. And so it is just going like, okay, taking kind of that self assessment of like, and you're going to teeter like in every situation where like, oh my God. Okay. So I will share this story because it's absolutely relevant. So I've been figuring out how to be in the middle of the road, not in either ditch, right? Now, my default nature, just how I am, like Kirby and I have discussed in marriage therapy, that like I tend to be in the direct side, like words don't hold as much meaning to me. So, like, a big part of candor is how you say something.
Hmm.
And like when Kirby and I will be reflecting on where we went wrong in a fight, he'll be like, well, you said this. And I'm like, I didn't mean that. And he'll be like, well, that's what you said. And I'm like, you knew what I meant. And he's like,
You
and
called
so
me a soft child.
I don't know if I've ever actually said that. Maybe I have. I don't know. Pick up your damn clothes off the bathroom floor. Okay, so um so my default is just like put it on the table, like just say it, and then you can like revert and shape. Like, well, okay, maybe that's not like, as I'm a verbal processor too.
Mhm.
So like it's just easier for me to like say it and then be like, well, let me backtrack a little bit because that's not really the right word. And like there's just this landmine of triggers that I've done as I'm trying to figure out. So my default is that. So then is just to be like kind of anger fueled, just say what feels good to say and be honest. So then I go into this. So this year has been um, just difficult. I feel like
Mhm.
running a business is difficult every year in its own way. And like God is definitely doing uh things, always working, becoming better. And so I had been withholding, kind of like tempering a dragon of frustration and disappointment and anger in our numbers. This kind of entire year has just been really mediocre, just mediocre as fuck. But I'm like, you know what? First of all, at its truth, I trust it's not going to stay here. Like we've had this kind of like, when you've been in practice for 13 years, it's like, okay. Yeah. Great. This year wasn't amazing. So I know that it'll bounce back. I also had trust that we were doing everything right. Like we were like, okay, we're doing the right things, that it will fall into place. I just have to kind of trust that right now this is what's happening for whatever reason. But inside I was just still mad and angry. And I'm like, all right, well, it's not the staff's fault. They're not doing anything wrong, and so they are not the ones whose name is on the paycheck. So they don't need to be losing sleep. That's a thing that I'll tell my employees all the time. Like, you are not paid well enough to lose sleep. Like, I love that you care, but like, no, that's my burden as the owner to lose sleep over things. And so pretty much I made it until, what was it? Like 4 weeks ago when I lost my
Yeah.
shit, 3 weeks ago. So I made it till the middle of October, just being like, hey guys, it's okay that we're not hitting some goals, like it's okay, it's gonna happen. And just fucking I jumped from one ditch into the other and lost my absolute shit.
I think that gets to an interesting point because like it was very angry and it was kind of vague. Like it was like we need to get our shit together.
Yeah.
We need
Yep.
to work harder. Like, and I think that gets to kind of an essential thing. And on the other side, we were saying when on the softer side, we were saying like, it's okay. We're doing the work. Things are going to work out.
And then I was
And
mad at them that they were like, "Cool. Okay, you
yeah,
said it's okay." And I'm like, "I
and
didn't mean it."
and neither of those were candor because neither of those were true. Like when
Uh,
we,
I
I mean,
mean,
when
it
we
wasn't
weren't
kind.
doing the reason you were mad is because,
People weren't
well,
really doing their job.
yeah, like certain people and just in general, the vibe and the work ethic and the dotting the I's and crossing the T's. We have good systems. We've
Mhm.
worked really well to build good systems, and they weren't being executed. They were being vaguely executed
R
in kind of a check the box way.
Yeah.
But when we dug in, when we took the time and like moved some people around and had someone who had the time to really dig into things, the ball was being dropped. Expectations were not being met. People weren't doing it the way that we actually expected and thought they were fully trained in. Like they were dropping the ball. So it was time for a come to Jesus moment. Just could have been with
Not
more
come to
Jesus
not
energy. I
it
mean,
could
you
have
had the
been a
Jesus
lit
energy, but it was like
it
tipping
was
the tables in the temple
I was
with the
gonna
money
say it was maybe a
changers.
little more come to the devil moment. And what sucks when I show like this is a lesson I've had to learn is like anytime that I lose my shit like that, whether it's on a kid. So, like, if you're a parent, you can
Mhm.
probably fully relate to this where you scream at them and you're like, I asked you to put your shoes on 7 times. Like, and it's that feeling where it's like, any parent can completely understand this feeling where you're like, sometimes that's almost like what they have to see to know that you're serious. And that's kind of where I had gotten. And like, I don't mean to throw my clinic director under the bus, but I had a private conversation prior to that meeting where I was in a safe space, spinning anger with her, being like, I don't want to show this at the team. And she's the one who said, go ahead, like, do it. I don't know how else to motivate them. But the point is, I had to buy a damn cookie that says, oh, I'm sorry I was a bitch at our last meeting because I felt so bad because that wasn't how I wanted to be as a leader. And by the way, Walmart will not, they are not allowed to write expletives on cookies. So the woman looked at me like, this is like a $16 an hour employee at Walmart. And I'm like, hi, can you write something on this cookie? And she's like prepared for happy birthday. And I'm like, can you write I'm sorry I was a bitch at our last meeting. And she just like looks up from her notepad at me, just like she's got a manager. I'm sure she's like, my manager's never bought me a cookie. And she's like, I can write B with some stars. And I was like, I'll take it. So